We in there.
All right. Welcome to Healthy Mindset Miracles. I am so excited. Today, we actually do a couple podcasts, and it's Glenn and I and Byron and Margaret that are doing this podcast together. And Byron and Margaret are a couple that we have come to love and endure and endearment just to because we've met with them multiple times. We've been able to have great conversations. It seems like we're made from the same mold in some sense. um, so Byron is a hardworking, loving husband and father who enjoys building things, music, and motorcycles, just like Glenn. Margaret is a creative, dedicated wife and mother who enjoys reading, crocheting, and learning new things, just like me. And together, Byron and Margaret co-host the Beyond I Do podcast. On their podcast, they share the ups and downs of their journey and how they have successfully navigated over 26 years of marriage. As self-proclaimed lovers of love, Byron and Margaret have made it their mission to encourage, uplift, and inspire others to create and maintain loving, committed relationships by sharing their personal stories of love, grief, joy, and everything in between. And we're going to talk about that today. Byron and Margaret, welcome so much to Healthy Mindset Miracles. I'm so excited to have you guys here.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
That's a wonderful introduction. I'm looking around.
Right.
Talking about
It's you.
Thank you for having us. We, of course, we're looking forward to seeing you guys again and getting to talk to you and catch up. So we're glad to be here.
Absolutely. You guys have been doing an incredible thing about helping so many other couples. I know that we've had some amazing conversations with you guys about marriage, relationships, family, things that have, gone on. Let's start from the very, very beginning. Like, how did you guys meet? Let's just talk about that real quick.
That's a funny story.
So I had a crush on his friend. And I honestly, I recall the first time we met, but I was there. I was interested in his friend. And we were still in high school at the time. Throughout the years, we kept in touch. His friend and I, that didn't work. His friend was trying to get over a breakup, so that didn't work. But our friend groups hung out together, and we kept in touch, and we just became really good friends. And we would hang out, and I went off to school, and when I would come home, I would call and we would hang out, and we were just really good friends for probably about 5.5 years. And then I decided I was moving home to finish school. And I don't know, I came home that December and I said, I'm moving back. I asked him, you want to help me move? He helped me move back. And from then on, we've just been together. It just kind of evolved. There was never any proclamation of a relationship. We just kind of started hanging out, and then we were joined at the hip.
Now,
so wonderful.
The flip side of that is, both of us liked each other, but we were too pig-headed to admit it. So it was like, both of us would drop what we were doing. Like she would come in town and call me. Oh, I was even in a relationship, and I risked it all to spend time with my friend because that was my friend, And even my ex, she was like, that ain't no friend. Y'all like each other. I was like, nah, that's my friend. That's my friend. I didn't want to tell her the truth. But anyway, so, when she contacted me about moving back, and I was like, it's now or never. that was my plan. I don't know what her plan was. So
my plan was just to get my stuff moved back.
I know, but I had to make sure that, I was going to be around her as much as I could. So we started hanging out every day. Hey, what you going to eat today? You got a job. I'm like, hey, what you going to do when you get off? Let's go hang out,
That was
Carried on from there.
And then you became inseparable.
We did.
That's
We did.
Exactly.
We call 1997 the year it all changed.
Yep.
I moved back in January of 1997, and by December of 1997, we were married on the 13th and had our son on the 20th.
Yep.
Wow. Wow. That is amazing. Now, how many children do you guys have?
We have 4.
You have 4.
Yes.
And are they still in school? Are they older now?
So we have 2 birth children, and when our youngest birth child was about 2.5 or 3, we started the process to adopt. We adopted a teenager. She is now 34.
Wow.
She had a rough childhood, and so the adoption was rough. And she had run away at 16, and at 21 we received a phone call, and she said, "I want to come home, and I have a baby."
Yep.
And so we picked her up, brought her home. She was not ready to be a mom, so we ended up adopting the baby. She stayed in touch. Once she got herself together, she stayed in touch, and the youngest would go and spend summers with her and holidays. And finally, when the youngest was about 8, she said, "I think I'm ready now." And
Oh.
so she's with her now, and she's 13. 13. She's 13 now. So she's been with her since she's 8. So we're semi-empty nesters. The 2 birth children are with us now, but they're adults. And it's been a journey. I teach, and so along the way, we have a few of my students who we have kind of pulled into the fold, and we refer to them as our godchildren. And they're adults, but they'll still call mom and pop for advice or help or what have you.
Wow.
That's so wonderful. That's, isn't it funny that things come together when you aren't even looking? Like you guys, you weren't even looking, and you were interested in someone that you were looking at, and then all of a sudden, here you come together.
Right.
Look at you today. That's such a wonderful story.
Right. And we do that sometimes. We look at each other, and I'm like, "Can you believe that we've been together?" Right.
We're the
we do the same thing. We look at each other and like, wow. Like,
yeah, and it's not about the time frame with us. It's 7 years coming up that we've been married, but to look at each other, knowing what transpired in our lives and brought us to this point.
Right.
It's just wow. Yeah.
Right. Right.
I just remember Tanisha saying that I couldn't stand him.
It still happens every other day. But,
I'm not sure she says that every now and then now.
that brings me to my next question. So one of the things that I always talk to people about, because people always say to us, "I really would like to have a marriage. I'd really like to, be able to love somebody like you two love each other." And I tell them all the time, our relationship has been work. Everything that we've done from the very beginning, it has been work. Like the first 6 months we were together, we almost got a divorce, but we had to learn how to communicate. Have you guys experienced that as well? Like, what kind of things have you guys worked on from the very beginning of your relationship to help you grow stronger to the point that you are today?
We had our trials. Because we were married so young, I know we talked about this recently. Both of us were like 22, 23, and we were just experiencing adulthood. So you have those things that you desire to do. And we planned to be together, but we were supposed to have children later on down the line. But that didn't happen the way we planned. So it was like trying to, navigate, adjusting to being an adult, then being husband and wife, and then being parents at the same time.
Right.
So we had our, typical, you need to put the seat down when you You put the seat up, you lead the seat up, those types of things. And then, we didn't really fight a lot. It was just discussions.
Right. That's been the biggest thing is, I think, because we're such good friends.
Yeah.
And that friendship has been the foundation. So there are times when, of course, there are certain things with couples that it's uncomfortable to discuss. It's uncomfortable. Money is one of the big ones.
Right.
Any type of sexual thing, like those things are difficult to discuss. But for one, we had a comfort because we're friends. And then another thing is we just decided very early that, like I said, we ended up having our son a week after we got married. And so I think it was about October of 97, where we had to sit down and think, okay, are we going to co-parent or are we going to be together? And once we made the decision that we're going to be together, okay, well then if we're going to make that decision, then we've got to make this work. So we learned how to have hard conversations, and sometimes it doesn't start with talking. Sometimes it starts with a text or writing each other a letter, whatever is necessary to get those things taken care of and addressed so that we can move forward.
And something that just came to mind, I know one of our earlier issues, and I just use this as an example. I would come home from work and I had to have me a beer when I come home from work every single day. And, when I was single, that's what I did. So we had the discussion. It was like, you can't just drink every day and, be not attentive. We have a baby running around. So, at first I'm like, I can do what I want to do. I'm a man. But then I had to realize, what? You're also a father too. So I had to cut back on those things. You know what I'm saying? It's just certain instance, going to hang out with the guys, had to learn that, you can't stay out 2-3 o'clock in the morning, trying to hang out with the guys. You need to bring your butt home at a decent time. It's just things like that, those growing pains, and like I said, it was, we had our discussions. Of course, I would get mad. I'd think about it. Yeah, you're right. And I just had to lead with the action, and we worked through those things, and here we are.
Yeah.
True that.
In your discussions, were they conversations that you both were open to sharing with each other, or was there some heated conversations? I know with him and I, when I said we first got a divorce or almost got a divorce the first 6 months we were together, it seemed like it was always in the car for some reason. We would be in the car and we would get into a discussion, and of course you can't, you're stuck in a little box.
Right.
So you can't run to the other room. So you either hash it out or, and so a lot of times there was a lot of yelling in our part. And we had to realize later on that we weren't listening to each other. We weren't hearing what each other were saying during those heated conversations, which ultimately was causing a lot of challenges for us. But we learned. And so is that something you guys had learned early on about, the conversation of listening to one another and understanding what the person's thoughts and feelings were?
Right.
I think that's where the writing would come in. Because then you can get it all out without being interrupted, or, you can get it all out without twisting the words up yourself. We also, my upbringing was very chaotic. And so I had to learn that conflict was okay. So, and it kind of helped us because I don't let things linger. Like I need to know that we're okay. But now the flip side of that is the defense mechanism that I have is my mouth. And so initially there were some things that were said that I had to, sit back and think, okay, I can't do that. Because once you say it, you can't unsay it.
Mm-hmm.
And there again, the writing comes into play and helps with that. So I think that a combination of understanding each other individually and then working towards making sure we're doing what it takes to maintain a healthy relationship.
Yeah. And one of the things that we learned, well, because of her background, we just stated that we would have our discussions amongst ourselves, try not to have arguments or disagreements in front of the kids.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes our discussions would be after they go to bed late at night. And you know,
had built-in calm down time.
Yes, you calm. It's like right before bed, so we ain't even be doing too much arguing because I got to get up tomorrow. So you know, that's how we navigated through a lot of those issues. And I mean, there were times where we might go a day, two without, you know, just hey, bye, going to work, see you later. You know, those things. But for the most part, you know, we just, you know, tried to make sure, as that scripture says, you know, don't let the sun go down on your anger. So we try to do that as much as possible. Because, you know, life is short.
As a woman, for me, and you, Margaret, you brought up you had a rough upbringing, and I did too. So, you know, like I said, we're made from the same mold almost. It seems like, but I came with a lot of emotional baggage and insecurities, you know, just, and those things still creep up. I just had one of those outbursts this week, actually. But the thing is that I'm gotten to an age now where I'm okay with sharing those things because I know that those experiences that I've gone through has to be a reason for them. But also I know that I've grown through them, because when they happen now, it's easier for me to get through them. But what's even more amazing to me is how he's learned how to help me get through them.
Yes.
You know,
yes.
That's incredible to me. So, and what I mean by emotional outbursts or insecurities, did you ever like say things like, well, you don't deserve me, or I don't deserve you, or maybe you should be with somebody else. Maybe I'm not the right one for you. You know,
I went a step farther and I told him who he should be with.
Yeah. I was told.
I had the person picked out.
Yeah. I'm like, is she trying to auction me off to somebody?
But that's definitely like not feeling like I deserved him. And like I said, I had the person picked out, and then for a long time, I never said anything to him about that person specifically, because I'm like, that's going to be awkward when we're around her. But you know, and I would give him all of these reasons why someone else, even if it's not this person specifically, but why someone else is a better fit for him, or why he deserves someone better. And that's actually something like I had to work with my therapist on. And the idea of deserving is not a thing. It just is. And so, and I still struggle with that from time to time. Like you said, the self-esteem issues and things like that. But I'm so thankful that throughout all of this, I started therapy maybe about 3 or so years ago. So there was a lot that I went through by myself, processing and getting better little by little. But there was a time when like he had to almost ask permission to touch me because of things that I had gone through. And he didn't know what specifically no specifics, but he could, you know, guess something is not right. So I'm just so thankful that he gave me that space and that grace to move through those things. And he was there supporting me through that, and that he didn't look at the other person and say, you know, I think you're right.
I think you're right. We would be a perfect fit. But, you know, that was one of the things that, you know, has helped tremendously for us was her. I know she had to feel comfortable telling me these things that happened in her past, so that when I did get a cold shoulder I understood where it was coming from. So it's
Mhm.
not, well, it's not me. Because, first thing you think is, well, what did I do wrong?
Right.
Mhm.
Is it me, or does she love me? Does she really care about me? You have those thoughts that go through your head, especially in time of rejection. When you realize that it's not you, it's this trauma that happened to me as a child that something triggered, whether it was a TV show or whether it was something that was said in a discussion. And now I realize, okay, it's that. So, I had to learn, I had to adapt to that and say, okay, well, I'm going to help her get through these issues. I'm not going to respond negatively, because I know the negative effect could also say, you know what, I ain't going to say nothing else to you about it.
And that could send me into defense mode.
Yeah.
And that's not good either. So
Another spiral moment. You were going to say something?
That's so deep. It really is, because it could go many different ways.
Mhm.
And I'm thankful that I realize that I need to bite my tongue in these situations too. Because the first thought that comes to my mind, I've found that even the second thought usually isn't still the right one to say. So the third one typically is. But when she did that exact same thing that you were just saying, Margaret, and that's why she was laughing, because you said you went a step further, and she wasn't trying to come to that yet, but you done talked about that step further. So she did the same thing, and to me, I started thinking that it's kind of a selfish lack of confidence on her part. And to me, that's selfish for her to put someone else in her position for me. And we talked about that, and she didn't comprehend that at first. But we came to the point that where we both, I began to understand what I said, because that's what I felt. And then after thinking about it, I said that because I want to help build her confidence. And part of that typically comes from just not being where one wants to be yet. Like she's tried, she's strived and thrived and still hit walls and stuff, and it kind of knocks her back and makes her kind of rethink some things. And then in a negative moment, those feelings just compound. But we work through it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely. And I was just, that is so funny that you said that, because literally he's right. I wasn't going to bring that up, but I did. I had showed him a picture of another girl, and I was like, see this girl, like she's got this and this going for her. Like
at first she's like,
not
"Look at
emotional
this
like I
lady."
am.
And then
there you go.
Look, I'm trying to imagine, like, going up to this female and like, look, my wife said, so we got to make this work. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's my chance. Now,
And it's amazing how in my mind, as I'm thinking it makes perfect sense. But then hearing that, I mean, it does sound a little odd.
she'd be like, both of y'all crazy. Both of y'all stay with me.
Right.
But I'm glad we're talking about this, because I can imagine there's other women that feel the same way or go through the same emotional issues and emotional challenges of that. There's a lot of women out there who are happily married, who have been through trauma in their life. And a lot of times that trauma, like he said, I pushed so hard that sometimes those moments happen. It's a matter of when are we going to stay in those moments. Now, I did for an entire day. I spent a day in bed crying all day long, because I was just so frustrated with myself, first of all, but I was also frustrated with just so many aspects. And unfortunately, when that happens, the closest person to you is the one that you lash out to. And that happens to be your spouse. And the beautiful thing of that episode was we've been through so much that he knew exactly how to help get me out of it. First of all, he gave me my space. He allowed me to cry it out. And then he would come and check on me, but then he would give me positive affirmations throughout the day. Even though I didn't want to hear them, he would still do that. And I felt like, wow, how much has he grown to be able to help me through these. I mean, it's rather embarrassing to even talk about it, but I feel like it's important that we do, because I want other women that are listening to know that they're not alone. And it's not, it's not okay that we go through that, but it is okay to go through it, because you learn through it. And I think for me, like, once I got over my hissy fit, the next morning I woke up before he did, And I started reading a book that gave me the positive mindset. I put an app on my phone to help me with affirmations daily, you know, just to try to change the direction of where I'm going and what I'm doing. And that really helped. But I want to ask Byron, and I'm going to ask you too, Glenn. So the two of you can answer this question.
You first.
All right.
He said you first, Byron.
All right.
As a husband, when you're looking at your wife in those moments of weakness and you know that she is so strong, what is going through your mind as needing to be the leader of the home to help her? Like, I want to know from a man's perspective, like, what do you guys think? And do you ever have moments like that?
Okay. Us real men, first thing that comes to mind is, how can I fix this? How can I fix this right now? How can I make things better for you? And I know that there were times where I realized I couldn't just say something to make things better. I knew I had to allow her to go through the emotions.
Mhm.
So I'm here for you. I'm here for you because I just want it fixed. I want you to stop crying. I want you to be happy. I want you to have a good day with me, you know. So I think that, you know, that's why I'm such a good mechanic, because, you know, I used to go out there and tinker while she would go through it. And I was go out there and tinker with stuff, tear something up, fix it, you know. But you know, it's, you want to fix things. You want to fix, because like she said, she'd been through a lot growing up. I didn't go through those things. I mean, I had my traumas, don't get me wrong, but the type of upbringing that she had was way different than mine. It was the opposite. So it's like, you know, but that upbringing taught me to be understanding and to know that there are going to be trials, there are going to be, you know, tribulations. You just work through those things. So I had the patience to say, okay, she's dealing with this. I'm going to allow her to do what she needs to do, but I'm going to be back in an hour. I'm coming in. You all right? Good? Okay, all right. I'm gonna go back out here. Come back in another hour. You all right? You good? Okay, you hungry? You going? You know what I'm saying? Just help with those issues. I mean, that's all I know to do. Fix.
Right,
That's
right.
a great answer.
And that's kind of what I do too. I check the temperature of the room as I walk in, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, I didn't have those challenges either, really. I did see them a lot in my dad's many relationships and how he dealt with it. And that's what I learned from. And thankfully, you know, it was in my 40s when I actually started getting around a real man's man, like you were saying. First of all, I'm a man, and that's what I've become. And it took until I was 40, honestly. And that's embarrassing to admit, but it's just kind of the way it was. I worked hard. I took care of my business. Everything was taken care of. But still, I was like wondering, am I a man yet? Because I didn't have anything to reflect myself against, honestly.
Yeah,
Right.
and I can say that having, you know, my father was, you know, a phenomenal guy.
Wonderful.
He taught me, you know, how to be a man, you know.
Yes.
I had a great example in my grandfather also. So, you know, I saw how they handle things, and
Yeah, right on.
that's what helped me understand. And now, I mean, don't get me wrong now. I'm still 25, 27. Am I a man yet? You know what I'm saying?
I'm 50 trying to figure out.
Holy moly.
This really adulthood?
Am I a man yet? Do I really have
Is this
it
really
now?
what we were striving for as kids?
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It kind of gives me chills thinking of that. And thankfully, I'm not the only one either. It just happens in stages depending on typically what we go through or what we're even ready to see or walk through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I've also taken up not only asking, of course, what can I do to fix this, but also mentioning to her too that it's also my fault, because I could have approached it differently. I could have said it differently. I could have reworded, switched some words around, and offered what it is that I'm feeling or thinking, want to experience, or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Offer it in a different way so that it's received a little better into her ears and her eyes, or, you know, in her heart. as well. And there's many different pluses and benefits that come out of these situations. Not only can we help one another and our progeny and friends too along the way, because of the experiences that we did go through and work through, instead of just shutting them down and walking away. Our progeny also see us work through these things. And I never got to see my dad and mom work through nothing. It was just like separate ways. And but our progeny to be able to see that, it causes their foundation to be that much stronger.
Right.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
And that was, with me, I didn't see that. And so sometimes I have to sit back and I'm amazed at myself because I didn't have a consistent example of a relationship. I had extended family that I would see here and there, but I mean, with my parents, like at 16, when my mom said we're leaving for good, I didn't care where we were going, just let's go. So the fact that for us getting married so young and still being together, like sometimes that's the thing. I sit back and go, wow, I was able to be functioning for this long.
Bliss, no doubt.
And have a relationship that looks nothing like anything that I saw growing up.
Out of 26 years, 6 of it you actually had therapy? Was it 6 years?
Not that long.
Just
no.
Well, you've been going about the last 3 years?
Yeah, about 3.5. Yeah.
23 years without therapy.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that we did have is we were a part of a church that was a very tight-knit family.
Mm-hmm.
And so we had other couples that were older than us, had been married longer than us. So we had those outlooks, those people to encourage us. I was real tight with the guy, and she was real tight with the one. Matter of fact, they're still our brothers and sisters to this day. And we see them, we call on them, we talk to each other.
Mm-hmm.
And just having those positive reinforcements, like to see them and to be able to talk to them and, hey, I'm going through this, how do I navigate this?
Mm-hmm.
That also helped us as well.
Right.
Keep ourselves together. Because, at the end of the day, it's like, at the end of the day, she's my friend. And I don't want to lose my friend.
100.
So like, that would be an awkward life. And I'm sitting there, I'm sitting up here trying to think of now how people do it. I don't know how they do it. I don't want to imagine how they do it. But I can't sit there. My friend sitting over there, we didn't come to the function together, but we got a kid together. So how do we, what I'm saying? Like, I don't really want to experience that. So that's what kind of keeps me like, hey, I need to learn to do what I need to do to make sure that we hang in together.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And sometimes our progeny's only hope is seeing what we're building together and making it work at all costs. Yeah. Gosh.
Right.
And also other examples of people that we know who went through a marriage or whatever that didn't make it.
Right.
And, when they tell their stories, it's like, shit, I don't want to go through all that.
Right.
I can't imagine trying to date now. Like,
Yeah. I listen to my girlfriends who talk about their single lives and how difficult it is in the dating world, and I get off the phone and I'm like, I am so thankful I don't have to deal with that.
Right.
It's not something that I would ever. If I had to be single today, I would not ever date.
Right.
It's
It's scary. So our daughter is 23, and she's like, Mom, I'm never gonna find what you and Dad have. I'm just not gonna get married. So she had her first serious relationship, and they broke up, and then she went into this little moment. So she struggled with that, but I told her, I said, you have to keep in mind, we were young. That doesn't set the bar, though. Let people grow up. You grow up. You have these experiences. And then when you're more mature, when they're more mature, then maybe, it'll be easier. But
go ahead.
She said, I can't find what y'all have.
Yeah. Well, it makes me think of the fact that I've seen. We are alike, or will be alike, the 5 people we hang around, and we hang
Mhm.
around ourselves the most. So we really should be working on ourselves.
That's exactly what
The
I was
most,
about to
yes.
say, because that's what I
Right.
tell my friends all the time. I'm like, you really should focus on working on yourself and getting to your goals and things that you want for your life. And while you're doing that, Mr. Right will show up,
Right.
during that time.
Right.
You'll track the things that you're wanting the most in your life. But if that's all you're focusing on, then you're going to go through a lot of frogs and a lot of
Right.
weeds,
Right.
and you're not going to be ready for that person that you want in your life. Like, I have a friend that so badly wants to be married, but her mindset's not there. And I'm like, well, unless you change your mindset, you're not going to find that
Right.
husband. You're
Right.
just not. So, and she understands that, a lot of them understand that, but it's like, how bad do you really want it? How bad do you, and if you want it bad enough, you need to prepare yourself for it. So,
Right.
Matter of fact, our most recent episode, we interviewed a young lady, and she had been divorced for 8 to 10 years, something like that. And she went and got a part-time job at Walmart. And guess what? She met her husband at Walmart.
I mean, like you said, she started to work on herself, work on helping others, and stepping outside of her comfort zone. And that's where she decided she was going to go get a part-time job. But I commend anyone who is on the dating scene and searching for someone, because I know that it's a lot.
Yes.
It is. But I also think whether you're married or you're single, you should still continue to work on yourself and still
absolutely.
Definitely.
For us, we work on ourselves separately and we work on ourselves together. And if there's an imbalance, like if I'm the imbalance, and I know I need to step up more in affirmations and positive thoughts and thinkings and doing and things for myself, so that I can be better for him. And then, same for him, he's got things that he's got to work on. And then when we come together, we work on those things together, because if I'm broken, how can I work on something with him? And if he's, how can he work on something with me? So we both have to come together in a positive balance, is the way I see it.
And if she's broken, then I'm kind of stuck. I can't move forward because I'm not going without.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's how it should be. I think that a lot of couples are missing that. Like, you work on yourself, but you don't leave your spouse behind.
Right.
And you certainly don't work on yourself, leave your spouse behind, and then, turn around and criticize your spouse.
Well, I got to break through. Why you don't have
Right. So that support, like I said, that support as I was going through my healing, and before therapy, like I knew that repressed memories existed, but I really didn't know if it was real until I ended up in our bedroom in the fetal position, because I had these memories come back to me. And so, like, to have that support there as I'm going through all of these things, and he's not saying, I'm going to give you until this time to be fixed, or else. And he's not saying, well, that happened when you were a kid, so it shouldn't matter now. To have that support, that helped me, and that also motivated me. I want to be better because I want to live up to what he's given me,
Right.
I want to live up to that. So it's like you build and whatnot, because you have each other to lean on
and those things will come up, and it's okay. It's okay to, you sit there 1 minute you're happy, and then the next thing you know, you just get quiet. That's okay. That's fine. I mean, that's just part of dealing with things.
Yeah.
And it's a Go ahead.
I asked him if he was talking about me.
Pretty much.
it's a choice, like you were saying, Margaret.
Mhm.
It's a choice to let things go, but sometimes they surfaced for a purpose to work it out, because there may be
Right.
something else in the midst that surfacing could also help.
Right.
And that could have came all the way from the bottom of your foot. We never know where these pains are hiding out, and then
Yeah.
it just comes up. It doesn't have to be in our memory bank, but yeah.
Well, and the thing is too, like if it does come up, the growth is, whereas before it would come up, you might be mad for an entire day. Well, your growth is now you're only mad for 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
We carry on with our day, because at the end of the day, we got to focus on, being happy with each other.
Mhm.
That's
Gonna
it.
come up. They're gonna do that. I've been sitting out there before working on the car and then think of something.
Oh,
God, that was messed up. Why did I do that? You know what I'm saying?
oh God.
And it's just you
Yes.
work through that process, in your head.
Well, it's also having the strength to be able to say, hey, can I talk to you? I'm really sorry for the things that I said and what I've
Right.
done. Please forgive me. And I'm working on that mindset. I'm working on that to
huge.
not make that happen again. But I just
Right.
want you to know that I recognize that there was a challenge. I recognize that I had done wrong. And, I'm coming to you as your friend, as your lover, to say,
Right.
I'm really sorry.
Right.
So I think that that's a huge thing as well. But then on the other side, it's the forgiveness part. Like,
Right. Right.
if I come to him and say, I'm really sorry, and he says, I forgive you. I already forgave you. We're moving forward, and let's make the best of it. That's to me, coming together and being strong. So
Right.
Yes.
not
Right.
dwelling on the past or saying, well, you did say this and it hurt my feelings. But
Mhm.
I think that we had that conversation where he said something to me and it really, really bothered me, but he didn't mean it in the way that I took it. But
Right.
I have a tendency that if I don't understand it, I will push and push and push until I understand it. And then
Right.
he doesn't understand why I don't understand it. And he tries to explain it to me about 500 times and I still don't get it. And, but it's his patience with me and helping me understand it, or coming to the terms of, the mindset behind it is what matters the most. So you guys wrote a book called Unlocking Forever: 10 Keys to a Successful Marriage.
Yes.
We have just a few more minutes left on this episode, but I wanted to talk about that book. A lot of the things that I'm certain that we talked about so far are in your book. Am I correct?
Yes.
Yes, it is.
So when we started our podcast, the first 10 episodes were about our relationship. So we talked about how we started, we talked about our current situation, and we talked about money, parenting. And so when we sat down to write the book, we looked at those 10 episodes and decided to use those as the outline for the book. And so in each section, we talk a little bit about ourselves and how those things apply. But then we give, information as to how others should look at those topics to create the relationship that they choose. And it's not about outside influences. It's not about what this person does or says. It's about really what the two of you are comfortable and happy with. And so after each section, there's an action key that you work on with your partner, and that helps you just be on one accord with your relationship.
That is so beautiful. I absolutely love it. You guys have a website called beyondidopodcast.com.
Yes.
And I'm going to show that here for our people who are watching. There you go. And that is where they would go to get information about your book, get information about your YouTube channel, and your podcasts all in one, correct?
Yes. And soon our coaching.
Yes.
It's coming.
It's coming.
Oh, that's exciting. I love that. I absolutely love that. So give us just about 3 tips that you two would 100% share with a married couple, and let's talk about a new married couple. I know that we're kind of veterans now, and you guys are veterans in marriage, but there's probably a few people that are new in the marriage. What would be the 3 main things that you would tell them on their wedding day?
The first one is keep everybody else out of your dang business.
Amen to that.
Yes.
You know, whether if it's mama, daddy, whatever, you know, just certain things you tell people.
Right.
You know, don't tell them everything.
Right.
And one of the examples I use even on our podcast is like, you know, yes, you call mom and be like, well, he made me mad last night because of this. Well, mama knows that you're mad.
Mhm.
After y'all phone mama, y'all have a discussion. Y'all cool. Y'all cool. Yeah, the next day, y'all going to mama's for dinner. You ain't told mama that y'all made up. So mama looking at him crazy when he go to dinner like, he made my and then, you know, she's throwing your food on the plate all crazy.
You get the little
That's
plate.
just example, you know.
Well, you can even go a step further, and I've said this before. If you tell a friend or a cousin, whoever, and they are going to go and try to squeeze their way in because they want a part of your relationship, and they'll go and tell your spouse what you said, he said, she said, to try to drive that wedge in between you, even though you've already figured out how to work it through. You got somebody else trying to go, well, do you know that she said this about you, or she did that, or I know this secret, you know? And I feel like, and he's said it to me before, hey, if you don't understand me, go talk to him. I'm like, I don't talk to nobody about our business. Like, what's between me and you is me and you. I don't talk to anybody, because I feel like I've learned that from a past relationship I had where I did go to other people, and it only backfired on me. So,
And such a thing as that, speaking to others about certain things, there's no telling how they perceive it or receive it. And that just compounds on a frequency of negativity. And it's got to be in an area where we can grab all of those frequencies and turn them into something great.
Exactly. Right. And then not to mention at the same time, y'all done with this situation. And then here come your cousin that you told a month ago. Hey, how did y'all work out through that situation? Man, done with all that.
Exactly.
Right, number 2.
What's 2?
Number 2 is definitely focus on like. You have to focus on like, because you have to like your partner. Like is, to me, or to us, over love. Because you love mama, you love daddy, you love kids, but you don't want them on you and all around you all the time. You know, there are certain relationships you like, they're good for about an hour, they got to go. But, you know, your partner, you have to like them. You have to like them in order to be able to sit there and deal with discussion after discussion, deal with the trauma, deal with those issues. You know, if you don't like them, that's where the disconnect comes from.
And the last one I'd say is to put the relationship first.
Exactly.
And sometimes that means putting self aside and doing what's best for that relationship. It's almost like a third party that's there. And so there are times when I am in my feelings and I want to do this and I want to say this because I need to say this and I need you to hear this. But if it's not going to be what's best for that relationship and for the well-being of that relationship, then I need to stop. I need to process and figure out how I can communicate that in a way that doesn't hurt that relationship.
Absolutely. Those are really great tips. Thank you guys so much. Now, one more question. For those that have been married for a long time and they've kind of figured out communication, they figured out how to like their spouse, they figured out how to keep their information to themselves, you know, what do they do to keep their relationship going hot?
Asking for somebody else.
You know, we found great success in reflecting. Reflecting on those beginning days, you know, reflecting on the beginning when you guys couldn't keep your hands off each other. We talk about Because I think that, you go through those moments and you don't realize how the other person was feeling at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, talk about those things. I mean, we sat up there, where were we? New Orleans.
New Orleans. Mm-hmm.
And we sat there in the hotel and talked for 3-4 hours about how we felt at this stage, and that just brought us so much closer
Mm-hmm.
to understand, okay, well, dang, you was thinking the same thing.
Right.
Well, I was thinking about this.
Right.
And then sometimes too, you can break down some of those times where you did have disagreements. Well, let me tell you about, this is how I really feel. Because, of course,
right.
Again,
in the moment,
you're macho. You like, man, look, I'm going to stand my ground. And you ain't going to talk to me that kind of way. But if you sit there and go over some of those past differences, you'll be like, you know what? I really wanted to just hug you instead of telling you what I said. But, the bullheadedness in me, you say what I said. You know what I mean?
Wow. That is really, really good. Do you guys make it a point to have date nights on a regular basis?
So, not necessarily date nights, but we spent, because of his schedule, when he is off, we spend time together. Sometimes that looks like we're going out together. Sometimes it looks like sitting on the couch watching Dateline. Yeah. So we just make a point to spend time together. Sometimes if he's working on something out back, I have my chair in the garage area with him, and I'm crocheting while he's working on a car, just so that we have that time. We value the time that we have together.
And the one thing that I'm seeing on the internet, I'm hearing people talk about, is being intentional. And that's intentional about spending time with each other. So, if we have free time, hey, even if it's when I'm going to the store, you want to ride with me, things like that. Whereas, in the past, I could do 4 or 5 rounds, run some errands, and I'd be by myself because she'd have to do whatever. And so we incorporated that definitely to, in the truck, we ride and going inside the building, outside this building. But we have that time together, and we're communicating, we're talking, we're enjoying each other's company. So that's what we do.
Exciting.
I love that. So do you guys have anything that you'd like to share with my listeners about your coaching that you guys have coming up, or anything about what you have in plan to help more couples in the future?
So we are finishing up becoming certified relationship coaches. And we will have our big launch in January for new couples. It's been a difficult struggle. You have that imposter syndrome kick in, and like, are people really going to do this? So we're trying to get past that hump, and we decided to go ahead. We started designing that program, and I said, January 2025. It's like, yeah. So we have that date as our target date to kind of hold us to our heels and make sure we dig in to do it. That will be a program for new couples. We'll also offer sessions for couples who have been married more than 5 years, perhaps those couples who are entering into the empty nest phase. And then eventually we want to host events and trips for couples.
Yes, we talked about that. So I'm excited for those times and those days. We'll definitely be putting that together for those events and retreats, because I think those are huge. We haven't been on one yet. I've always wanted to do one. So I think putting that together would be an amazing thing. So Byron, Margaret, thank you so much for coming on here and doing this episode with us. This is probably going to be my favorite one.
We enjoy talking to you too. We're going to have to schedule some times to have our meetings, our talks, because we've been looking forward to this.
Yes.
We have to as well. So I'm going to go ahead and tell my listeners, you guys go to their website, beyondidopodcast.com, get their book, be able to follow them, keep in touch. If you guys have a subscribe email, do you guys have that on your website?
It's on the way. It's on the way.
So just keep an eye out for their website. Keep an eye out on the things that they're doing. They've got big plans for those of you that are in new marriages or getting married and or getting into the empty nesters. And we love you all. Thank you for listening.
Blessings.
Thank you.